would straight up ask, Lindsey Graham, how did Russia hack them when they refused to let the FBI even use the service?
The thing that we indicted the Russians for, Obama's national security advisor is profiting from this when taxpayers paid for it.
Guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society.
Well, I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't get that, man. They go through all this trouble to get here and then come here and vote Democrat.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
So just going out for a drive today. Always good to clear the head. Beautiful sunset. I'll try to switch this around. Interesting to starting to see people come out now. Most people are doing the social distance thing. Kind of think that's what you're going to have to do. People are going to be able, I think people are smart enough now to know that they need to change their behavior a bit, and in doing so, it's going to make a difference over what it would otherwise be. That's clear. But, something's got to happen pretty quick. Had an interesting conversation on Twitter yesterday. I don't know if interesting is the right word for it. With an exchange with this guy I did an interview with a while back, Patrick Hawley. And just amazing. I was listening to President Trump today do his press conference, and he's sick and tired and fed up of journalists, on the take, bought and paid for journalists as I am. And some of these people don't even know that they're bought and paid for, but they are. There are people pulling the strings that they don't even know. That guy, I've been trying to, I've been trying to get him to do an interview for a long time with Epic Times, and at this point, I can only conclude that Epic Times is just an IIA. So many of them are. I don't think President Trump is aware of a lot of what's going on, because it would be irresponsible to tell him if you were doing it for plausible deniability and all. But, the people that he thinks or seems to think that he can trust, like OAN, can't trust them. I've had conversations with enough people and recognized what was going on. I know for a fact, well, I had a very good conversation with actually one of the people that worked with him. I'm not going to say who, but that guy Jack Posobiec at OAN and a couple other people that he was working with back in 2016. These guys were making memes, posting them, doing memes, taking shots around DC and posting them, but I have it on extremely good knowledge that they were getting funded. And I actually spoke to some of the people, one of the persons that worked with them, and they didn't, one of the reasons that they left because they didn't know where the money was even coming from. Most of it, a lot of it. That's where the MIC comes in. Patrick Hawley. I finally got him to, I finally got a quote-unquote journalist to at least, and I hate doing it that way, you just got to trigger somebody, but at least I got him to explain to me or give me an answer as to why they wouldn't, why Epic Times wouldn't report my story. It's completely validated. I have a case, a Ketan whistleblower case filed in DC back in January, and it was denied, but without prejudice, meaning that I can go forward with it. It had enough merit. And if a judge, a DC federal judge, looks at it and says it has enough merit, the response I got from Patrick Hawley was that the first response I got back, I think he actually deleted that, but I got a snapshot of it. I don't know if he deleted it or not, but it wouldn't load the tweet. You'll see. But it's frustrating. He did respond back and say that he didn't, that there wasn't enough, I didn't provide enough evidence. Well, how Epic Times did an entire Spygate poster based on hearsay. I literally have documented evidence supporting everything I'm saying. That's not enough, apparently. It's enough for a federal court judge, but it's not enough for Epic Times. So, whether or not he deleted it, I don't know. But he never responded back because his initial response was, listen, we didn't report it because you didn't have enough, because you didn't, it wasn't credible or you didn't provide enough evidence for it. I'm like, okay, so I responded back to him with a screenshot of the DC court case, federal case. It shows what was going on. And I'm like, wow, great, okay, we're going to have a conversation. Because, when Judge Janine fucked me over and when Sarah Carter fucked me over, they never responded back. It's just like I was working with them for a couple months, and all of a sudden one day, right after I got an email from them that said that they were going to be running my story on Fox the following week, I never heard from them again. They changed their numbers. No justification, no reason why, no nothing. Kind of sucks. What do you do? So it was nice to actually get Patrick to come out and say, but okay, so he comes out and says, well, this is why. And I say, okay, well, explain this. Why is it not enough for Epic Times, but it's enough for a DC judge? And he responds back with basically, you're an ingrate. Okay, so it goes from a conversation where, he's making his point. I'm making my point to a personal attack. Just, oh, you're an ingrate. I had you on my show. Well, I was on freaking Bozo's Big Top. I got to play Butchie Boy when I was like 9 years old. It was a magnificent moment. I'll never forget it. But how it helps my case now, I don't know. Being on Patrick Hawley's show was a few hundred people that watched it. I'm like, listen, why you need to take this to the people at Epic Times, and apparently he did. Based on his response, he did. Maybe that's why it won't load for me anymore, but I got a screenshot of it. And so, once in a while you get a little bit of an answer, but they don't respond back. But when you respond back with, evidence, credible, saying, hey, counterpoint, please explain this, they just turn it personal and they attack you and make it personal. So, at any rate, let me shut. I've been doing a 360 video here. It's been going for 9 minutes, 19 seconds. We'll let it go for a few more minutes. But, at any rate, these people don't understand the work that I did. Maybe they do, right? I worked for some of the highest people in our government. I worked for General James Jones, Obama's National Security Advisor, 8 years. I answered directly to his son. And during that time, I pioneered what was known as IIA, Interactive Internet Activities, Social Media Psychological Warfare, from 2007 to 2010. Paul Manafort was our partner during this. Kind of seems relevant, doesn't it? Patrick Hawley then responded back saying, I don't have the tweet in front of me, but it was like, it reminded me of the Ilhan Omar when she said, someone did something, right? Seriously, someone did something? Patrick's response to me, I'll pull it up to get it specific, but it was essentially, this guy or some guy was on my show and he was bashing Epic Times and he's got something against Epic Times. Patrick, instead of saying I've got something against Epic Times, which is, it was founded and owned now by a Chinese dissident in the mid-90s. I have no doubt in my mind, based on how they've responded and reacted to the things that I brought to them, that they are that somebody is pulling their strings. Why do they leave the people like General Jones, Manafort's on their Spygate? We were Manafort's #1 partner as I'm making the ShadowNet, which is what I built for the Department of Defense on a DoD contract. It wasn't called the ShadowNet, but once our contract was over in Iraq, we turned around and we kept the intellectual property rights. We took that application, instead of leaving it with troops on the ground who would spend a year providing input for us, developing it. We turned that around and made a commercial, say we, Dynalogy did, made a commercial application out of it. And it was sold for the purpose of, at least, and I discussed this with Jim, General Jones's son, for the purpose of influencing U.S. elections. And by the way, we were John McCain's IT company during this 2008 campaign, and that was the exact same time that we were making the ShadowNet commercially available. Can I say that McCain did anything wrong? No. I was overseas doing R&D. I ended up coming back working at MacDill with Jay Misk on a similar project for Dynalogy, Jones's company. But can I say this is all after what we know about Manafort, after what we know about his involvement overseas with social media psychological warfare? it just boggles my mind. You know, it's someone did something. Well, I did that, right? And the ironic, I got a freaking Russian snowflake tattoo on my arm, and that still doesn't apparently trigger anything with anybody, which, you know, had nothing to do with the Russian. That was my ex-wife. That was the logo to a restaurant, but it's just amazing what they ignore. You know, they had at the same time the Wall Street Journal, Craig Timberg, was ignoring my story after working with it for several weeks. They came back and said, well, you know, we just don't have the resources right now to investigate it fully, and it's just not really something we're interested in doing and reporting on. And then, you know, that same day, the headline on the Wall Street Journal was a woman that 30, 40 years ago got bumped up from coach to first class, sat next to Donald Trump, and claims now, only made no evidence of it or anything, but claimed that he, was rude to her or said inappropriate things. So, you know, it's really, this is what we're dealing with. I mean, and that was back in, I would say that's like late 20s, that's 2017 we're talking here, that I was talking to the Wall Street Journal about this with Greg. Hundreds of journalists I've reached out to and spoken to. A few have done have done their best. I don't expect, some people, if you're a YouTube person, you got several thousand followers, you want to have me on, I'll tell you my story. It's kind of limited to, freaking seriously, people. Can you shut there we go. Wonderful. It is a beautiful view. I would love to. It won't let me flip it around right now. Let me take it out. It's this is the view right here. Looking right out over the water. That's Clearwater Beach over there. The storm clouds are kind of screwing everything up. But at any rate, wonderful. Somebody's stealing a car next to me. No, they've been in it. But at any rate, it's really sad with what has become of journalism. I'm not going to tolerate, when I run into bullshit, I'm going to call it out, just like Trump does. I just wish he understood that the people that he thinks might be helping him are just not, Roger Stone's in the news right now. He's worried about going to jail because of COVID, and I get that. I like Roger Stone, but I also know, I spoke to him, and I know for a fact that he worked with Jim Jones, my boss, General Jones's son. He knows the Joneses. He worked with us at that same time. And I would be Roger's number one supporter if he would just come out, do a mea culpa, look for a little bit of redemption like I have. I'm as guilty as he is of doing a lot of really jacked up things. This is my redemption for it. And I guess I'm going to have to deal with a lot of Patrick Hawleys until my redemption's fully paid. But I will get this exposed. People will know what's going on. We've got a couple things going on right now that I believe are going to make a difference. Need your help, folks, because this is jacked up. Anyway, thank you very much. I'm going to sign off now, head back. Things are going to work out. It will. But you need to understand that the people I work with, the things that I did, the things I pioneered, were developed specifically for when situations like this arise, that you can use it to your advantage, whether it be politically, whatever the purpose. If you're trying to lobby something, whatever it is. Some of the best minds in our Department of Defense, paid for by taxpayers, built the capabilities to absolutely be able to alter the outcome of an election, to magnify a naturally occurring virus in such a way that it causes chaos. IIA is largely about chaos. Look at the things that they did in Ukraine with the May Day or whatever that thing is called, Maidan. That was chaos, and it was caused, I'm 95% sure, by my colleagues using newer versions, most recent versions of exactly the same thing that I pioneered from 2007 to 2010. And that's a problem because they have infiltrated everywhere. They're at Fox News. Vice President for General Jones's Jones Group International is a host on Fox News. She blocked me when I reached out to her. A journalist blocking me because I reached out to him. Dan Bongino blocked me when I reached out to him. It all started to add up after that because then I saw that, John Huntsman, Abby Huntsman's father, Fox News, he was actually the chairman of the board of Atlantic Council in 2016 when all that crap was going on, 2014, 2016 when all that crap was going on with Burisma. Then when he got tapped by President Trump, which I don't think Trump knew about this guy. How could he? He's a businessman. He's coming into politics, and these guys, these threat actors have been up to their crap for decades before he got involved in this. But he tapped Huntsman, or Huntsman tapped Jones, my boss, the owner of the Shadow, to be the interim chairman of the board for Atlantic Council. And then Jones turns around, the guy that I built and owns the Shadow Net, turns around and partners with Facebook to restore election integrity worldwide. Rupert Murdoch sits on the board of directors of Atlantic Council. Dan Bongino is a piece of filth, and he should be ashamed of himself. It's making for some interesting chapters in my next book, that's for sure. But at any rate, folks, the sun's set. I'm heading back. I can't do this on my own, but I'm going to keep doing it with the few friends that I have helping out, and anybody else who can help out until we actually make a difference with this and we hold these people accountable. We expose these threat actors, every damn one of them. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. We don't fix this problem by simply doing worse than our enemy, because our enemy are also Americans. If you're doing it politically, if you're a Republican, your enemy is still going to be an American, it's just a Democrat. So I don't care what side of the fence you're on politically, if you're messing with the sovereign protections instilled by the Constitution and the First Amendment for the protection of journalists, and you're subverting that for your personal gain or for your political will, that's got to end, folks. And I'm going to be calling you out. And if you got a problem with that, just come to me with a legitimate excuse, a legitimate argument. If something happened, if I'm wrong, tell me. Don't just make it personal. You can get personal with me all you want. I'm an easy freaking target. But I think people are getting wise to that. And eventually you're going to have to answer. Because I ain't going nowhere, folks. Good night and God bless.